Hello, Josie here. Are you ready for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And are you sure? Here we go. Because I got time today. I got time every day to share the truth. You know, years ago, when I had first started going through a transition, living every day authentically as myself, it was advised by a medical professional, a doctor. This doctor was referred by another doctor, and that doctor was referred by another doctor. And I am one that, I do take medical advice from medically trained individuals that have degrees and have experience and whatnot. But that does not mean that you're still not dealing with haters, that you're not dealing with toxic individuals just because they're a medical profession. It doesn't mean that they don't have prejudices or hate or envy or jealousy towards other individuals just because they have a degree, just because they're a doctor, just because they've decided to go into a field where they're supposed to help people, you know? One of these doctors, and this doctor was a therapist, and he had the ability to write prescriptions. So, psychiatrist. And I went to this person, and he was a homosexual, and he recommended a group to go to for transgender women. And I took his advice, took his suggestion, went to this group. It was group therapy, where we came together and we shared our experiences and just, and in this group there were a few individuals that struck me as a little bit concerning mentally. They were the type that I could read their energy, and their energy was insecurity. And in some ways, they used sex to get what they wanted. They used sex with men to get favor, to gain. That's the only reason. And one of these girls, she would go to these events or these parties or whatever, and she was basically, she didn't give me all this information. She shared a little bit of it, and she was very, like, in a way, I don't want to say she was proud of it, but she just kind of had this nonchalant attitude about it. Like, oh, it's nothing. But she would spend basically the weekend in a sling, getting drilled, getting fucked. And she had not undergone SRS surgery. But she was also on a website that I was on at the time, and it was a dating website. And certain guys that she was friends with were very heavily into, maybe not BDSM, but they were into risque behaviors, and these guys identified as heterosexual, And these guys were somewhat older, not the best looking, but they were basically using her. When I say using her, they're using each other. They're basically using each other. Now, what ended up happening with these individuals She ended up getting her SRS surgery. I believe it was paid for by these men that she was basically being a party favor for. But I believe that she was only doing it because of these men. You know, they were treating her like an experiment. You know, and prior to her transitioning, I recall her as well too. She was into the BDSM arena and kind of that risque, sex, weekend parties. Everybody can get it, even prior to her transitioning. But I believe that her transition was because these guys were seeing it as an experiment. You get this transition, you get this surgery, and we basically turn you into our weekend fuck toy, or we'll pass you around among the group of guys that she was friends with on this network and possibly outside of the network. But she decided to go along with it because maybe she was not all the way mentally there. Maybe she saw sex as her being able to, like I said, get favor, be liked, be seen, be noticed. But she had also issues with other transgender women that were able to pass, that looked good, that knew how to dress, that had style, that, were talented or creative. She had issues with other transgender women, and she decided to, bully them, and or stir up things in their life to make herself feel better, Competition. She saw him as competition. She saw him as making her feel better about herself by attacking other transgender women. And she used the group as a way to do that. And of course, when you have one, you're going to have others. So imagine me going to a transgender group, a support group, right? And sharing certain things about my experiences and some traumas, whatnot. Not anything really crazy, but sharing things with them. And they use those things to come against me. They find out where I work, and they, just, yeah. And let's say the group therapist that was overseeing the group also had some kind of insecurities or felt some type of way and helped them. Because the group therapist was a former alcoholic. So people know and or recognize others that have qualities and traits that they do not have. They also may not know that we're covered by God or that we're blessed by God. They could just see it as, oh, you found someone that is helping you, or you found someone that I could steal from you that could help me. And I do believe that they used and or incorporated my partner as well too to get information about me and certain things and what I wore and makeup I used and so on and so forth. And because they were jealous. They were envious and they were jealous. And it's amazing what people will use, who they'll use to act out their jealousy and their envy. See, I've said it before, I've told you the truth. I'm not just speaking from one past experience. I'm speaking from multiple experiences with many different people from various backgrounds that all had something to do or had some kind of issue or problem with me, or that they took their problems or their insecurities or their anger or their jealousy out on me, and they came for me. and failed. I don't know what happened to this girl. She was a librarian. She said she was a librarian at this college, this university, and I do not know that she ever was. I think she possibly told a lie in regard to that. I learned after that experience, there's reasons why you don't share certain things about your life or where you work or your hobbies or your interests, because people will use that to come against you, to attack you. Send people into your business, send people into your store, your career, to stir up trouble, to cause problems. Yeah, this one that had the SRS surgery, she changed her profile. I noticed this, came across her profile. She changed her profile to say that she was a female, and I just chuckled. She actually believed and or believes that because she got sex change, that she's now a female. She doesn't even mention the fact that she's a transgender female. She just says she's a female. That's it. And she's probably living out here in this world telling everybody that she's a female when she was born male. And she's actually a transgender female. So she wasn't honest in a lot of different areas. I don't know what's happened to her. I don't particularly care what happens or what happened to her. I don't care. She just came to mind. I just thought about her. So maybe something's going on in her life that is not the way that she thought it would go. Maybe not what she planned. She had a big scare too prior to her getting the surgery, because before you get the surgery, you have to do all these tests, and they have to make sure that you're HIV negative. Well, she had went to, or had been engaging, like I said, in weekend orgies, where she was basically a party toy, a pump and dump for a lot of men, and she was all concerned and worried that she was positive, and that would delay her surgery. Well, the thing is, if it delayed her surgery, these guys would find somebody else. They didn't care about her. They just cared about using her, having fun with her. And then when they were done, she would have had her sex surgery. She would have seen herself as a female, and they would have moved on to the next one. Which is probably what they did anyway. Yeah, as soon as she got back to the States, because she went to Thailand to have it done, as soon as she got back to the States, her steady boyfriend, or guy friend that she was seeing, was already in it, already playing in it, and already setting up dates in her meetings with other guys for her. So basically, there was no rest for her. She had to get to work, so to speak. I even had, I believe, a girl that she also knew that worked as an employee of mine. She was trying to find out information for her as well, too. If I was planning on getting the surgery, and I was never planning on getting the surgery. I, of course, thought about it and did research because I was interested. I was curious about the process, and I even picked out the 2 doctors that were going to do it. I didn't do it. That wasn't not for me. That's not for me. This employee was asking questions regarding it, which I thought it was very, very personal thing of this person to do. But I answered honestly. Nothing to hide. No, that's not for me. But anyway, I wanted to share that with y'all. You know, certain people that are supposed to be helping you, you know, that you're paying, because I paid for the group therapy, I paid for the psychiatrist, I paid for the therapist, I paid for the general practitioner, you know, out of my pocket. All these individuals were a part of the LGBTQ plus community, you know, and I thought that, you know, that whole we are a family thing, you know, I thought that that was true. I thought that that was, you know, especially with the doctors, I didn't think I had to be concerned or worried. With the doctors, no, I didn't think that. But, yeah, yeah, I had to be, should have been more careful, more cautious with the doctors that were overseeing my health and wellness. The therapist, even though they were a former alcoholic, does not mean that they're healed or that they do not still have trauma or that they would not have sympathy for someone else that has insecurities and is looking at someone as being competition, you know? Certain energies that you're around you can feel. And when I was in that group therapy, I could feel the energies around me and just kind of, I don't know if these people are really trustworthy. Like, I can trust them. Like, I should even share with them. But I trusted the doctors and the psychiatrist that recommended. Oh well. Lesson learned. Gotta go.